Episode 33: Social Credit and Debt. We are often told that debt can be avoided, and that if individuals, businesses, or governments find themselves wallowing in debt, it must be their own fault. But what if this isn't exactly true? According to the social credit analysis of Major C.H. Douglas, not to be confused with Chinese social credit, the overall level of societal debt must continually rise if we are to avoid economic depression and collapse. Oftentimes, the choice to take on additional debt is thus made under extreme duress. This is because the only way we can deliver sufficient consumer buying power so as to achieve an equilibrium with the flow of final prices is to induce governments, businesses, or consumers to continually borrow more money into existence in the form of bank credit from the banking system. But there is a big problem with this method of dealing with the price-income gap. You cannot borrow yourself out of debt. If, in each economic period, you require more debt money in order to pay off some of the production debts that are coming forward in final prices, you are merely exchanging one debt for another, instead of finally liquidating the production debt. In fact, the attempt to borrow yourself out of debt actually makes it even harder to meet debt claims in the future. Since consumer income is the only type of money that can finally liquidate, i.e. eliminate, production debts and indeed all other debts, introducing additional debt into the system to make up for the underlying deficiency of consumer incomes only puts more demands on those incomes in terms of debt servicing requirements. In response, people demand wage and salary increases in order to maintain the standard of living. These increases in labour costs necessitate larger production loans and eventually filter through as increased prices, necessitating even more debt money to compensate for an increased gap, and thereby generating a positive feedback loop. The end result of this inflationary process is an increasing mountain of debt, which is, in the aggregate, unrepayable. The total societal debt in most countries at any given point in time is now so great, both in terms of debt owed to the banking system and derivative forms of debt, that the amounts owed exceed, by several times, the entire size of the money supply, and that disparity is constantly increasing. From a social credit point of view, the excess of debt over money is a partial mirror or imperfect record in time of the recurring excess of prices over incomes in each productive cycle. The one imbalance leads directly to the other. On the basis of that compensatory mountain of debt, much taxation, interest, and service charges are levied in perpetuity. It's a colossal burden for us all, while constituting a cash cow for the banking system, because of its existing monopoly on credit creation. The underlying deficiency in consumer incomes and the subsequent need that we have for more and more debt money to make up the shortfall thus puts us, both as individuals and as a collective, in the position of debt slavery. Since we can never liquidate debt without contracting more debt, control over policy also falls to the debt merchants. The banking system, that is to say the commercial banks in conjunction with the central bank, gets to decide if and when, to what extent and under which conditions the additional debt money will be created and issued to help buoy up the flow of consumer buying power. This bestows on the owners of the banking system tremendous economic, political, social, and cultural power. By contrast, the Douglas social credit alternative, by issuing a sufficient flow of compensatory consumer credits, debt-free in conjunction with the regular flow of incomes to achieve equilibrium, allows us to finally liquidate the flow of prices associated with final production. This provides us with the ability to redeem our production debts, whether owed to the banking system or to the last firm in the chain of production, in full, once and for all, with no debt residue being left over. For when debt meets debt-free income, the two cancel each other out of existence. Social credit thereby breaks the monopoly of credit, restrains the growth of debt, and enfranchises all of us as shareholders in our societies and in our economic and financial systems. It took Western civilization many thousands of years to eliminate chattel slavery. Hopefully, it will not take us nearly so long to eliminate debt slavery. Douglas Social Credit shows us how this most necessary liberation can be achieved. This animated series was sponsored by the Clifford Hugh Douglas Institute for the Study and Promotion of Social Credit. For more information on Douglas Social Credit, please visit socred.org. Be sure to like this video and please subscribe to our channel.